Hey, you. Ever get that feeling like, your English is pretty good, grammar's solid,
Hmm.
but it just doesn't quite flow like you hear native
Oh,
speakers?
absolutely. It's like there's this little gap, isn't there, between knowing the rules and actually sounding, well, natural.
Exactly. So today, that's what we're diving into, how you can make your spoken English feel less like you're, climbing a mountain and more like just talking
Right.
without all the stress.
Right. And we've been looking at some really interesting stuff, actually, including a script aimed at English learners.
Hmm.
Our mission here is basically to pull out the practical, actionable bits.
The real gems.
Yeah, the things that can actually make a difference to how natural you sound and feel when you speak.
Because, you can nail every grammar quiz, right? But still feel like you sound a bit, well, foreign,
Mm-hmm.
even when everything you're saying is technically correct. So let's dig in. What's really going on there? Why does that happen?
Well, a big part of it is like linguistic habits. Think of it almost like muscle memory, but for your mouth and brain. Your first language. It has its own rhythm, its own ways words connect, and your brain is super efficient at using those patterns. It knows them inside out.
Right. Makes sense.
So when you switch to English, your brain might still kind of default to those old pathways. Maybe it's even trying to translate word for word in the background.
Ah, okay. Like a little internal translator running.
Exactly. And that can make your speech feel a bit more step by step, maybe? Less fluid than a native speaker who isn't doing that translation.
Yeah, I get that. It's like that bike riding analogy, right? At first, you think about every single pedal push, every wobble.
Precisely. But then with practice, it just happens. It's automatic. Speaking English naturally involves getting that same automatic feel with common phrases, sounds, the whole flow.
Okay, so it's not just about knowing the words, it's about how they connect and flow automatically. That internal translator you mentioned, it must slow things down.
It definitely uses up mental energy, energy that could be going into making the delivery smoother, more natural. So the core idea, and this came up in our source material, is really shifting towards thinking in English more.
Not just translating from your language to English.
Exactly, trying to formulate the thought directly in English.
Okay, that sounds significant, like a big shift. Where would someone even start with that?
Well, one really practical place to start, something native speakers do all the time without even thinking, is using shortcuts. Little pronunciation
Few
shortcuts.
shortcuts. Like what?
Our source called them native speaker hacks, which I quite like. We're talking about things like contracted forms, I'm in instead of I am, but also reduced pronunciations.
Reduced pronunciation.
Yeah, where sounds kind of blend together or even get dropped a bit.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, actually, because it's not just lazy speech. It's about efficiency and rhythm. It helps create that characteristic English flow and stress pattern.
Okay, interesting. Can you give us some solid examples? What kind of reductions are typical?
Sure, think about a super common phrase. I am going to.
Okay.
How often do you actually hear a native speaker say every syllable clearly like that in casual chat? Much more often you'll hear, I'm gonna.
Right, gonna. I hear that all the time.
Exactly. Or even in really informal situations like super casual, you might hear Imma.
Emma, wow, okay. That's quite a jump from I am going to.
It is. And context is key here, right? You wouldn't use Imma in, say, a job interview. Definitely not.
No, probably not a good idea.
But even just shifting from going to gonna in everyday conversation, that instantly makes you sound a little more natural, a little more relaxed. It's about knowing when and where.
Finding the right level of casualness.
Exactly. Hey, let's try a quick practice right now. Get you involved.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, everyone listening, try saying this after me. I want a coffee.
Good. Hear how want to just kind of smooshes together.
Yeah.
Wanna?
Yeah.
Okay, now try this one. Do you want to come?
Do you want to come? Do you want to come?
All squished down. Exactly. And you can immediately feel it, can't you? It flows faster. It's smoother than saying, do you come?
Definitely. It might feel a bit weird at first, maybe even like you're being lazy or not speaking properly.
Yeah, some learners feel that way initially.
But these little shortcuts, these reductions and contractions, they're honestly a massive part of why native English often sounds so connected and, well, effortless.
So, okay, people are hearing this or maybe trying wanna and gonna. How do they actually start bringing these kinds of hacks into their own everyday speaking?
Well, the source material had a really great practical tip. Record yourself.
Ooh, okay. The dreaded voice recording.
Uh-huh, yeah, I know. Nobody loves hearing their own voice. But seriously, just record a minute or two, talk about your day, answer a simple question, anything.
And then,
Then listen back. And if you can, compare it to how native speakers sound in similar situations. Find a clip from a podcast, maybe an interview online, even just dialogue from a TV show.
and listen.
Listen for how they link words. Where do they use these reduced forms like go, wanna, kinda? Where do sounds blend together?
That's actually a brilliant exercise. It forces you to become really aware of your own speech patterns.
Exactly. You can pinpoint those spots where maybe you sound a bit more formal or deliberate than you want to, and see where you could maybe try slipping in one of these shortcuts.
Yeah, self-awareness is huge. Okay, so we've talked about the why, the translation habit, and some how's the pronunciation hacks. Let's put it into practice. How does this look in, like, real life?
Good idea. Let's do a couple of quick scenarios. First one, ordering coffee. Super common, right?
Yep. Daily occurrence for many.
Okay, so imagine someone who's maybe a bit hesitant, still focusing hard on grammar. They might say something like, I want a coffee, please.
Right. Perfectly polite, grammatically sound, but like we said, a bit stiff, maybe, doesn't quite roll off the tongue.
Exactly. So what's a more typical, natural way you'd hear someone order?
Well, you'd probably hear something faster, more flowing. Maybe, can I get a latte to go?
Can I get instead of I want?
Yeah. Or even shorter sometimes, just latte to go, please. Much quicker, less hesitation.
Okay, everyone listening, try that one. Repeat after us. Can I get a latte to go?
Feel that flow.
Mm,
Smoother. Yeah.
definitely. Okay, scenario 2, just casual chat, maybe bumping into a neighbor.
Yeah, those little interactions.
In these informal moments, you hear native speakers using fillers all the time. Those little sounds or words we use to pause or just to make things sound less abrupt.
Totally. Things like so or well or the classic,
Right, or even little phrases like kind of or sort of. They don't add a ton of meaning, but they're crucial for the rhythm, aren't they?
absolutely. They make it sound like a real conversation, not a prepared speech.
Uh,
So instead of just launching into a topic, someone might say, so, how's the dog doing? Yeah, mine's been kind of crazy lately.
See that? The so eases you in, that kind of softens it. It sounds relaxed.
They're not robotic.
And this actually leads perfectly into a question we got. Someone named Maria emailed in asking, how do I stop pausing so much when I speak? Which is such a common frustration, I think.
It really is, Maria. And honestly, the fillers we were just talking about, that's a huge part of the answer.
Instead of just silence.
Exactly. Instead of a dead air pause, which can sometimes feel awkward or make it seem like you've lost your train of thought, you use a little thinking sound. And
Okay, so it signals you're still on. You're just gathering your thoughts.
Precisely. It gives you that split second to think without completely stopping the flow. It tells the listener, hang on, I'm still going.
Right, because those silent pauses can sometimes sound like you finished, or maybe you're really unsure.
Yeah. Whereas a filler just sounds like natural processing. Like, listen to this. Well, I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of tricky.
Okay, yeah, I hear the pauses, but kind of, they bridge the gaps.
Right. It keeps moving. It sounds much more natural than just saying, I think. Long pause. It is tricky.
Yeah, much less abrupt. It's subtle, but it really changes the feel. And probably makes you feel more confident too, not leaving those silences.
Definitely. It can make a big difference.
Okay, so let's kind of wrap this up a bit. We've looked at why you might sound a bit less natural than you'd like. Often that habit of translating instead of thinking directly in English.
Right, that muscle memory idea.
And we've explored some of those really useful native speaker hacks, the contractions like gonna, wanna,
Yeah.
the reduced sounds.
And also, super important, using those natural fillers like, instead of silent pauses.
It's all about making things flow more smoothly.
And look, the goal here isn't necessarily to sound like you were born speaking English, right?
Yeah.
It's about feeling more comfortable, more confident.
Making it easier for people to connect with you.
Exactly. And making communication feel less like hard work.
Absolutely. And please remember, making mistakes, totally normal. Actually, it's essential. It means you're trying stuff, you're learning, you're pushing yourself.
Every mistake is a step forward, really.
So here's a little challenge for you this week. Just pick one thing. Maybe try using gonna instead of going to a few times.
Or maybe start one or two answers with, well, or so.
Yeah, just one small thing. Try it out in a real conversation, and then just notice, how did it feel? Did the conversation flow any differently?
Take a second to reflect on it, because it's those small, consistent steps that really add up over time. They build fluency. They build that natural sound.
So keep at it. Keep listening.